Hello, everybody. This is Pitch Skull Black here, and I am joined by HarryWilliams Productions for my
Hello there.
first ever video in 2019 or project in 2019. Hopefully one of many. But today I'm going to be starting off with the year by talking about all of the 1960s Dalek stories with HarryWilliams Productions. We're going to be going in order, so the Daleks up until Evil of the Daleks, and probably talk about Mission to the Unknown as well. Probably talk about all of them, which we will, and then just rank them all at the end. So should we get into it?
Yeah, let's begin with the very first Dalek story, which of course is the Daleks. So what are your thoughts about this one?
I think this is okay, personally. A lot of people absolutely freaking love this story to pieces. I would have said out of season 1 of Doctor Who, it's either this or Marco Polo, which gets the most love. I personally find it really overrated. I think the first 4 episodes are gold, but then it just drags terribly, in my opinion.
Yeah, I know what you mean by a lot of people love it. I think that's because of the fact, it's the first Dalek story of all, well, it's the first one. But I really enjoy it. I think the first time I watched it, I liked it, but I wasn't that overly obsessed with it. But when I rewatched it sometime last year, I think it was, I actually did enjoy it quite a lot. I will say it is slightly overrated. But there are a couple of Dalek stories which I do think are even more so, like, really overrated, and one of them will be in this video, in fact. But yeah, I do think it drags a bit. It could have done with a couple of episodes taken out. It could have been a really good 5-part story, perhaps, or even a really fast-paced 4-part story, which I think would have been amazing.
That would have been pretty amazing, yes.
But I think just too many episodes and probably quite a lot of exposition towards the end, I think. But overall, I think it's pretty decent, and it's what made Doctor Who what it is today. So you've got a lot to thank it for,
yeah,
really.
definitely.
So you can't really hate it.
I'm personally under the belief that An Unearthly Child is a better story. I think An Unearthly Child is a really underrated story, but I would agree that this definitely saved the show because not very many people actually like An Unearthly Child.
No, episode 1 is good, but I think the rest of the story is just a bit dull and a bit repetitive and a bit boring, really, in my personal opinion. But yeah, I think the Daleks is a really good story. Obviously, some consider it to be overrated, which is fine and understandable. But I think it's a really just a fun romp, and I wouldn't really recommend it as a jumping on point for Doctor Who. There are probably other stories that I would recommend for that, but if you're a Dalek fan and you haven't seen this story, then yeah, I'd say give it a watch. I'd say it's pretty good. It's the first one, so.
Yeah, in terms of jumping on points for Dalek stories, this isn't the best one in my opinion. Like Genesis.
I think Genesis or any of those two, I think it's probably the ideal point for jumping on.
Yeah.
Genesis of the Daleks was my jumping on point for classic Doctor Who, really. So
same here, actually.
Yeah,
it was the first. It was the first ever DVD I got in my collection.
Yeah, that's the same one for me. It's a bit of a cliche nowadays because I think that's what loads of people say. That Genesis was their first one.
And the real crazy thing about this is that I got into Doctor Who in 2005, and I probably got into the DVDs a year later. So I remember renting The Mind Robber from a library. So it's possible that I actually bought this the year it was released, which is pretty amazing, as this was released in 2006.
Yeah, it's really so long ago now. It's like over 10 years old, which is crazy.
Yeah, 13 this year. So
Jesus. So yeah, the Daleks, I'll probably give that story maybe a 7 out of 10. I think it's appropriate.
I would personally give it a 6.
Yeah, 6 or 7 out of 10.
There's still a lot to it that I really like. even though it wasn't an actual Dalek and it was just the assistant floor manager holding a plunger or something like that.
It's still a really good scene.
Episode 1 cliffhanger is fantastic, and the
it's the iconic cliffhanger that a lot of people remember, I think.
And let's not forget the iconic bolt cutter scene, which was homaged in the series 1 finale.
Oh yeah, brilliant stuff, really is.
It really is. That scene, yeah, like the first 4 episodes are just pretty much gold in my opinion, but the last 3, not so much.
No, I mean it just shows the creativity of the BBC back in the 60s. You know, it's just
clear padding.
Can't imagine what it must have been like at the time to actually watch that.
I mean, it even says in the booklet for the Edge of Destruction, something along the lines of that. The Edge of Destruction was purposely made for ending the series possibly at 13 episodes, and that extending the Daleks to 9 episodes wasn't really an option. And I can't even begin to imagine how that story would have fared at 9 episodes, to be honest. I mean,
that is a bit of a stretch. I mean, 7 was a bit of a stretch already.
I mean, if it was 9 episodes, this probably wouldn't have been that good, considering how padded the last 3 are already.
Like there's a lot of talking, and it's very dialogue heavy towards the end.
I mean, if it's 4 episodes of like golden action, like who knows what 5 fucking episodes of padding would have done to this story.
I know it is. Overall, it's good. I wouldn't say it's brilliant, but it's good. Good.
Yeah, agreed.
A couple of episodes could have done with being taken out, but there are people obviously that really do love that story, and of course there were 2 bloody Peter Cushing movies made out of it. So, which I haven't even watched yet. I will get around to, but
I've got a really battered slipcase release on my shelf, which I also bought just flipping years ago.
I did see one of those, like a really battered one in CX, like last year.
Oh yeah.
Shall we talk about the second story, which is the Dalek invasion of Earth? Which this is the one that I think is probably the most overrated Dalek story of all time. I know I'll probably get a lot of hate for that, but
yeah, I can see where you're coming from, to be honest. I wouldn't quite go that far. Again, I would be on the path of a 6 out of 10 with this one, but I do see where you're coming from.
I'd probably give it a 5, but I think I've said this many times before, and I've said this, but I think with that story, you could take out episodes 3 and 4, and nothing would really change. I mean, you could probably even enjoy it a bit more that way. There was some good, like obviously really good iconic moments and some good imagery in that story.
Yeah, and I would like to point out something. I watched this story Christmas Day last year because I was interested in rewatching it for a potential review on the channel. And in Day of Reckoning, I believe it is, or End of Tomorrow, is where the Daleks go across Westminster Bridge. The problem I have with that is that every recreation of this scene shows the Dalek is the perspective of the camera being on the bridge with the Daleks. However, in the story, it's only ever a side-on shot of the Daleks on the bridge, not actually a shot of them on the bridge, which is really weird if you think about it. And even the cover of the DVD itself kind of lies about that a little as well.
I like how they actually put new series sources in there.
Oh yeah, that's a point. Yeah.
I mean, that is so misleading and very very cheeky of the BBC to do that.
Yeah, as I said to you, the spaceship in this is like £2.50. It's made from like 2 wrappers of mince pies. It's terrible.
It's literally a Poundland spaceship. That's what
it pretty much is. Yeah,
that's the best way to describe it, I think. But I'm surprised I haven't noticed that until now.
Despite this story getting the same rating as the Daleks, in my opinion, I will still say that this one is slightly worse because that had 4 good episodes to it. This has one solid episode and a pretty decent sixth. That one solid episode being episode 1.
Yeah.
The other 4 are quite uneven in terms of acting and production values, I would have said.
The reason why I think people love it is because of the final episode. That is literally the reason. Like, if you say like I'm not a fan of it, people say, oh, you're not a true fan or whatever.
Yeah.
But if you actually sit down, look at it from like a critical perspective, it's honestly not that good.
I mean, even finding it pretty overrated, I will still say the last 5 minutes are fucking phenomenal.
Oh,
Susan's departure is probably one of the, if not the best companion departure in the show, because it's so emotional and so well acted.
It's the departure that she deserved, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's the first one, but it's pretty much textbook definition companion departure. It's so well done, I would have said. It's just amazing.
I think one of my problems with this story is that there's a couple of problems that I have. Some of the acting for some of the characters, and especially the Robomen, is pretty bad. Some of the directional choices are quite questionable. For example, there's this one particular shot where the Roboman is looking down the stairs.
Oh yeah,
and it's so bad. It's so bad. It's good. It's so bad. It's actually hilarious. And the slither is shit.
It is, like, it's a good idea, but I would say it's much better realized in 1, the Daleks' master plan with the Varga plants, and Genesis of the Daleks with the experimental creature things Davros has in the tanks.
Also, it's alright. I know it's of the time, but this is quite I can't remember what the exact words were, but I remember there's a really particular sort of really sexist scene in one of the kitchens or something. In the refugee camps, I think it is.
I think so, yeah.
There's one scene that I just like. It's so obviously.
Isn't it the one in episode 2 where like Susan and Barbara literally go into like the survivor camp or whatever, and the first thing one of them says to Barbara is, "Can you cook?"
Yeah, that's it. That's the scene I was. It's like sexism for the win.
Yeah.
Like, that is so of the time. It's brilliant.
Maybe it's that one single line that Stephen Moffat based Twice Upon a Time off of. Who knows?
He probably loves the story, I reckon.
Yeah, he probably does.
Or he's just not a big fan of the first Doctor era. So
no.
But I think overall, I'm not the biggest fan, as
agreed.
It's probably clear in this live stream.
Yeah. But yeah, it has its moments to it. Like, as I've said, the departure is phenomenal, and I think we can agree that the cliffhanger episode 1 is one of the, if not the most iconic Doctor Who cliffhanger, with the Dalek coming out of the water. I mean, even really, if you don't think you've seen it. It's that good.
It's really amazing the way they were able to do that.
It is amazing.
And I just love how the establishing shot of the episode is a picture of the sign that says it's forbidden to dump bodies in the water.
Yeah.
I just found that really funny for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Maybe I'm just really morbid like that. I don't know.
And what makes the cliffhanger to episode 1 even more convincing is that the Daleks' eye stalk and whatnot moves, because if it didn't, you would probably just think, oh, they're just tugging a Dalek prop out of the water with a rope or whatever. But no, the eye stalk actually moves and stuff, which makes it a lot more convincing.
Like, I can't begin to imagine what it must have been like as a child to have seen that and be completely blown away by it. Like, for episode 1, that is a bloody good episode.
Episode 1 is pretty damn solid. Like, another problem I have with the story is these sort of what I describe fairly uneven production values. Like, there's this there's this stunt where Ian it falls through the floor and he's like hanging onto a girder, and then there's like a shot of his legs dangling from him holding the girder, and there's one very brief moment where you can see the actor's face and it's clearly not William Russell.
There's also a bit where I think he like falls down a chute and they use like a plastic doll version of Ian in one episode. I can't remember which episode it is. But...
Oh yeah, that's episodes 5 and 6's opening / cliffhanger when he falls down the shaft.
And it's clearly just a model.
Also, can I question the logic of that? How deep was that shaft? I mean, like, Ian just got out of it unscathed.
Yeah, unless he's turned into like Mary Sue and has no like injury or whatever, then I don't know how to explain that, to be honest. So yeah, that's like I said, I'll probably give it a 5 out of 10.
Yeah, as I said, I would give it a 6. It's slightly worse than the Daleks, but it's got a lot of good ideas to it.
It's
and
just
some particularly exceptional scenes to it. I
just think it's a bit overrated and a bit overhyped, and it's not as good as people make it out to be. I think.
Yeah, I will definitely agree to that.
I mean, I really like the cover design, but that's about.
Yeah, it's a bit clickbaity.
Oh, absolutely. That is one way to describe that.
Yeah,
money baity.
Like, if there ever was like a Doctor Who clickbait DVD cover, this would be it.
That is the ultimate one.
Yeah.
So I guess the next one is
the Chase.
The Chase.
Goodness me.
I guess we're not going to include the Space Museum, the last episode, or should we just cut to the chase?
Yeah, literally cut to the chase, because it's going to be painful enough to talk about anyway, in my opinion.
I've only watched the story once, and when I did watch it, I mean, I liked it, but it was just ridiculous, the whole thing.
I'm sorry, but this is quite a big thing to say, but this is probably the worst 60s story for me, TV-wise.
What, in general?
Yeah, just like, out of all 50 60s TV stories, this is the absolute worst one, in my opinion. Worse than Space Pirates. Worse than Space Pirates. Worse than what's the other
the Gunfighters?
Yeah, worse than the Gunfighters. Worse than the Web Planet, which is a little unfair to say, as I actually quite like that story.
Okay. I mean, I quite like the Gunfighters.
Well, fair enough. Yeah, this is so bad to the point where I only give it like half a mark out of 10.
Wow.
And that's only because of the mechanoid battle scene at the end, which is also slightly misleading on the cover.
Yeah.
But
another clickbait.
But less so than the Dalek invasion of Earth.
Oh yeah. I mean, I quite liked it, but I will agree that it is pretty shit.
Yeah.
I guess you could call it a guilty pleasure of mine. I quite like it.
Yeah, probably the only thing I like about this story is the battle scene at the end of the story. And literally that is it. I've watched this story once in full, and then the middle episode, Journey into Terror, which is the warehouse, not the warehouse, the haunted house one, once on its own. And
is that the one with the Dracula in it?
Oh, yeah, Dracula and Frankenstein, fucking hell. And that's the only time I will watch anything from this story ever again.
Like, I mean, I can't remember too much about it other than the mechanoids, because they're actually quite a memorable creation.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised they even released like an action figure of them in the first place.
Yeah, as I said, there is literally nothing to this story that I like apart from the freaking mechanoid battle at the end, which is only why I give it half a mark. Acting is unconvincing. Production values are pretty much bottom of the barrel for 60s Doctor Who, I would have said.
I mean,
the humor in it just simply doesn't work. Like the Dalek comedic approach.
It does fall flat on its face most of the time.
Yeah, like I think it's in episode 2 or something where a Dalek gets pushed off a boat, and that made me more scream with pain than laugh, to be honest.
Yeah, it's like there's a lot of ridiculous and just way over the top ideas.
Yeah.
I don't know what Terry Nation was thinking when he wrote that.
Yeah, and
but I actually prefer its predecessor a lot more.
Yeah,
I just really like the Space Museum. I don't know what it is, but I just really like it.
I've only seen the Space Museum once, and I didn't like it, but I would happily watch that over this.
Yeah, I think the Space Museum is actually do you remember the DWM poll back in 2014?
Oh yeah, that was ranked at the bottom or something, wasn't it?
In the bottom 10 of all time, which I wouldn't really agree with. There are far worse episodes.
There's worse stories out there, definitely.
Particularly like Moffat-related episodes, and the Tassananga conundrum, but that's like another video for another day.
Yeah.
But, no, I think the chase. I've only watched it once, but I can see what's some of the major problems as you've already pointed out.
Yeah, the production values, as I said, are pretty much the absolute worst for 60s Doctor Who. Like the Iridians, the amphibian, scaly monsters in episode 1 aren't convincing at all. The Journey into Terror episode with Dracula and Frankenstein is even worse.
I think that's actually one word to describe that story, which is unconvincing.
Yeah, it's so unconvincing. Like, not only is the production values bad, but the acting is really bad as well. Like, and over the top as well. Like, I know some people will defend this character, but I find Morton Dill, played by Peter Purvis.
Oh my god!
In what was it? Fucking Flight to Eternity, or something like that.
That's actually I remember watching the story. Probably it must have been like 12:30 at night when everyone went to bed. I was just sat in my room watching the fucking chase, and I remember getting up to his character and just like actually laughing out loud. I was like, "Shit, I better not wake anybody."
Yeah.
And they'll find me watching the fucking chase at 12:30 at night. I mean, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, what an experience.
So I had a good time with it in that respect, but
Morton.
It's not good.
Yeah, it's not good at all. Like, as I said, I don't like a single thing about it apart from the battle scene. So unconvincing. Humor doesn't work. Acting's terrible. Premise is good, but done better in the Daleks' master plan, in the sense there's a big sort of chase between the Doctor and his companions going along.
Probably the most exciting part of the episode or story.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's really much more to say on the chase.
I don't really think there's much more to say on it either. I can just sum it up with the worst 60s story, in my opinion.
I think the sooner we get it out of the way, the better. I think. I mean, it is.
Yeah, the less brain tumors we're going to get talking about it.
It is really. It's a shame it exists, actually.
Yeah, why couldn't they just leave, like, the Dalek invasion of Earth, or like just leave season 2 with the Dalek invasion of Earth? Like,
they didn't need that story at all, really.
No, they didn't.
So I guess now the next story is the big boy, isn't it? The big boy.
Well, this one's gonna. Oh, it's a big one. This app story.
Well, let's talk about Mission to the Unknown first. Actually.
Yeah, let's talk about,
because that deserves to be discussed, I think.
Yeah, Mission to the Unknown most certainly deserves to be discussed.
I think it's a really atmospheric, perfect one episode build up.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely flawless episode, in my opinion. Like, there is not a single problem with it, in my opinion, at all.
It is a very, I remember when I was getting into classic Doctor Who back in 2008, because that's when I started collecting the DVDs. And I had the Monsters and Villains book, which I adore, and I'll cherish that book forever because it's pretty much what got me into classic Doctor Who. I remember because it had every Cyberman story, every Sontaran, every Dalek story, etc. And I remember flicking through the Dalek stories and coming across Mission to the Unknown and the Daleks' Master Plan. Now, Mission to the Unknown especially really interested me, and it took me like over 10 years for me to actually get around to experiencing that story. And my God, I loved it. It's perfect for it. Like, obviously there are problems, but it is pretty damn good.
Yeah, like I don't have a single problem with it at all. Just the atmosphere, the writing, and then the characters as well. Like Mark Corey and Larry and the other ones are just so freaking good. And
there's a real sense of danger throughout that story as well.
Yeah, it's so good. Like just with them being picked off one by one by the Varga virus.
Just completely like the inevitable doom that they're all going to face. It's so good.
Yeah, it's so good. Like as I said, perfect one episode story.
I would like to buy those 2 Target books at some point because it's such a good story. Like honestly, it really is.
Yeah, if you're lucky, you could probably get these for a decent price. Like I got both these in near enough mint condition for 20 quid in one bundle. Just the 2 of them for 20 quid.
I don't think they're that rare, are they? Really?
No, you could get one volume for like a tenner or 15 quid. Not that rare at all, really.
I know it's just one particular Target book that I'd like to experience because Mission to the Unknown is a classic Doctor Who story without Doctor Who's.
Yeah, and
I guess carry on.
This gives so much more depth to the freaking delegates as well. From what I can remember,
bugs me that the Mythmakers is in between that, but never mind. It's just one of those things. But should we talk about the mothership?
The big boy.
The
boy. Mothership. Yeah. The big
Dalek's Master Plan. Right. This is absolute. This is probably in my top 10 Doctor Who stories of all time, and it's probably in your top 5, I reckon.
Yeah.
It was your number 1 at one point. When I remember.
It was my number 1 at one point. Yeah. But slightly gone down a bit.
I think you started to discover some of the problems with it.
Yeah, which is its length. Like, trying to think here. First 6 are solid, as well as 11 and 12.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think the first half is incredible.
Yeah, like it's absolutely solid. Like if you count Mission to the Unknown and this as one big giga 13-parter, Destruction of Time is my 3rd favourite episode of 60's Doctor Who. Second is Mission to the Unknown, and then the first is Day of Armageddon. And there we go. The earphone problems are fixed. But yeah,
like you say, like the latter half.
Yeah, the latter half isn't that good. But what I was saying whilst you were fixing your headphones is that Mission to the Unknown is my 2nd favorite 60s era episode. Number 1 is Day of Armageddon, and then number 3 is Destruction of Time.
Speaking of which, this is the Sun release of Day of Armageddon, which when this came out, I must have watched this about 100 times.
Yeah.
Bearing in mind, this came out probably when Series 2 was on, I think. It must have been.
Yeah.
I think I've watched this like probably over 100 times. It is.
Yeah.
One of the singular most best episode ever, I think.
Yeah, it's probably the best single episode of Doctor Who of all time, in my opinion. Like, it's so good. I've watched it like 50 times at least, and I'm so fucking happy that it exists.
I just love the scene where the Daleks are burning down the jungle. It is classic Dalekery, if that's even a word. Probably isn't.
The most amazing facts about this is that, according to the complete history issue containing the Daleks master plan and more, I think it was only done in like 75 minutes.
What, the episode 2?
Like recorded.
That is amazing, considering it was just so bloody good. I mean,
like they really put their heart and soul into this episode, as you can see, and the whole master plan saga.
It's such, like, this could have easily been a disaster.
Oh yeah,
but they pulled it off like in the most brilliant way, and it is it's still, like, I think if this story was found, I think this is pretty obvious. If it was found, it's probably going to be one of the best Doctor Who stories. Like, it is one of the best Doctor Who stories.
Yeah, without question. Yeah,
but even more so if it were found.
Yeah, and I will mention that on the Lost in Time box set, where this episode is like physically released in a actual Doctor Who set, there's a commentary on it by Peter Purvis, Kevin Stoney, and Raymond Cusick, which is fantastic.
That is brilliant. I mean, it's such an interesting episode, and it also features, for those of you who don't know, features Nicholas Courtney.
Yep, does as well, which makes it even better. Yeah,
because he came back to become one of the most iconic Doctor Who figures ever.
Brigadier. I mean,
what more can you say?
Yeah,
this episode is brilliant.
Perfect.
And the story is fantastic. Because I think I've watched the recon quite a few times, and it is it's just, I enjoy it the more I watch it. But I would agree that there are, like with every story, there are problems.
Yeah.
So I mean, no story is perfect. Even if you think like your favorite story of all time, it's still got problems, whatever it is. But no, the Daleks master plan
it's absolutely fantastic. As I have mentioned previously and numerous times on the channel, 60s Doctor Who would always be my favourite for how experimental and far the BBC were willing to push the show at its then current point in time status quo. And the Daleks Master Plan episode 12, The Destruction of Time in particular, even though it's not my favourite episode from the set, is probably the best example of that, because of just how freaking dark it gets. I mean, sorry for spoiling it slightly, but Sarah Kingdom's death was so graphic originally, to the point where they actually had to edit it down a bit.
Oh, that is a really dark death for a character.
Yeah, like they actually physically had to edit some of it down before transmission due to fear of how graphic and disturbing it was. Like, they thought it to be too graphic and disturbing to be broadcast onto TV.
It is really. I remember watching like the recon. I mean, I think that episode actually exists when she dies. I think it's episode 5, isn't it?
No, it's
or was it episode 10?
Katharina dies in episode 4. Nicholas Courtney dies in the cliffhanger of episode 4. So there's a slight recap of that in episode 5. But Sarah Kingdom herself dies in Destruction of Time, which
looking back on that, I mean, it's still really quite disturbing and quite chilling.
Yeah, I mean, just being aged to death, and like the Doctor succumbing to it as well. Like, I think to get ultra specific, he aged like 200 years or something because of the time destructor.
There were so many good ideas to the story. I mean, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's just a true achievement of Doctor Who. Like, in my view, it's probably not the best story of all time, but it's hard to deny how much of an achievement the Daleks' master plan is. It really is.
I mean, it's better than practically. Like, it's just one of the Doctor Who greats. Like,
yeah, it's
obviously there are a couple of like dud episodes within it.
oh, of course,
but,
yeah.
Like, you're gonna like. It's a bit annoying that the Feast of Stephen is in it, because every time I go to watch the recon, I just skip that episode.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I've done that in the past.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like essential viewing at all.
Oh, definitely not. No, like,
but they just thought, well, it's going to cross with Christmas, so we may as well do the first ever Christmas special. But I don't know what else to say there is on the Dalek, apart from the fact that obviously Kevin Stoney is one of the best actors ever from Doctor Who.
Yeah.
And has played two of one of the most iconic villains. Those being Mavic Chen and shit, I've forgotten his name.
Tobias Vaughan.
Yeah, that's it. Like, two of the most iconic characters, like most iconic villains. But yeah, I don't think there's really much more to say on it, unless there's anything else you want to mention.
I don't know really. I just hope the BBC flipping animate it, because I think
like,
that thing would sell like fucking no up.
Yeah. It would sell. I mean, I would buy that without hesitation.
It would sell so much. Like, I would probably buy like two of every version they will release of it, and then keep some of those copies factory sealed, and then like open the rest.
Speaking of DVDs, I just got an email from Amazon saying my Series 11 Steelbook has been dispatched. So yeah,
oh, that's lovely,
jubbly. So, but anyway, let's I guess, do you want to move on?
Yeah, I guess so. Just Dalek's master plan kind of speaks for itself.
Yeah, like, it's just an absolute classic. I mean, if you haven't,
it really is.
If you haven't listened to it, I seriously suggest, because it's proper Doctor Who. Well, it's Doctor Who at its best. So
yeah, and the YouTuber Josh Schneers did fantastic animated reconstructions of the Dalek's master plan. Like, they're not to the full length of the episodes. Like, a few tiny bits have been cut out. Like, I think Abandoned Planet's around 19 minutes instead of 24. But it's still an absolutely fantastic job of like conveying the story in a visual medium. It's fantastic.
It is really good. I mean, you just can't fault, especially the first half of that story. You can't fault it at all.
Exactly, yeah. Especially Day of Armageddon and.
Oh no! Like, it's such a good episode.
And keep going on about it.
There's a lot to talk about.
I know, and one more thing that I love is the scene in episode 1 that actually exists of I forget the character's name, but the actor Brian Cant's character dies, the one that exists on film, like Nicholas Courtney's like Brett Vion's friend, the one that gets in that surviving clip. That is such a good scene, so intense, so well directed. It's just fantastic.
There's a lot of good directional points in the story. So, shall we move on to Patrick Troughton's debut?
Yeah, we'll probably never get finished about the Daleks master plan if we don't.
No, I think it probably needs a separate live stream, really.
It probably does, yeah.
Maybe that's something to consider in the future.
Yes. Right.
So now we move on to
another big one.
The Power of the Daleks, which is one of the greatest Doctor Who stories. Some may consider it to be overrated, which is understandable. But you can't,
to an extent, yeah.
You can't deny that this is brilliant. And I just think it's such a... I'd say it's quite a good jumping on point for Doctor Who, if you want to get into it. But obviously, because it doesn't exist, like, but I guess the animation's not too bad. But
yeah, a lot of people have been whinging about how the animation is bad. I've found the animation to be pretty great, actually. I mean, it's not like the absolute best they've ever done, but like it's still pretty damn good.
Well, considering they were pretty much forced to get it done by its like anniversary,
yeah,
and like I'm not like because I think some people are really ungrateful about it.
Yeah, some people just fucking moan about anything.
It's just the way the day and age that we live in nowadays. But I think if they were given a little bit more time, I think it could have looked even better. But I think it's fine for what it is. I think they did a good job, and I'm not going to slate them for that. Because I'm just sort of happy that. I mean, it's weird seeing it on the shelf.
Yeah, it is slightly weird, but I don't mind. I'm not that fussy.
Yeah, I'm not going to complain about it. But no, it's just nice to have, and I think as a story, it's bloody fantastic. I think the Target novelization is one of the best. Have you read it? I'm not sure if you have.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, it is like the story has got so many, and it's an iconic story in many ways because it's the first, post regeneration story.
Yeah,
and the first, the first Doctor that
carried on the show from the previous actor.
Yeah, I mean it's got such good characters like Lesterson. I think is a brilliant character, and you see his like falling to his demise.
Yeah,
as the story progresses, it's just really well written.
Yeah, it's a very well written and just fantastic story overall. And Patrick Troughton's job of taking over from William Hartnell was colossal, and he did it so well here.
I think William Hartnell actually recommended for like Patrick Troughton recommended to the BBC, like basically told them about Patrick Troughton. So,
oh wow,
that's pretty cool. I think it's a cool bit of trivia.
Yeah, that is definitely cool.
And like he's a very popular Doctor, and a lot of people love him. And he's in my top 5 of the Doctor's ranking.
Yeah, a lot of people would say that he's the best Doctor. Personally, he's my second favourite. First favourite, William Hartnell.
Yeah, he's actually my 5th favourite, just below William Hartnell.
Oh right.
Funnily enough, but I listen to Power quite. I prefer listening to the audio than the animation. But like I said, I'm not slating the animation. I just prefer listening to the CD because I just think it's really atmospheric.
I personally do think that the audio is a lot better than the actual animation, but for quite a problem. Back in 2017, I did what I called a Power of the Daleks multimedia review, in which I reviewed this version of the story, the audio soundtrack version, and then the Target novelization version, all in one video, along with a 20-minute sort of analytical review tagged on at the very end, which totaled to about 1 hour and 10 minutes. In the audio review portion, I pointed out how I preferred that, because watching the visual version, there's a lot of gaps in between dialogue in the story of characters just not talking, and just sort of them, and just sort of having the cameras or sort of the story rely on sort of the characters' visual faces sort of to let the story sort of convey the scene and sort of carry it along. With the animated version, I don't think they could really accurately replicate what the actors were looking like on the original.
No, because I think a lot of the facial expressions are a key moment of the story.
As such, with a lot of those gaps in dialogue, that leads this, the 6-part animated version, to feel padded, in my opinion, and
yeah, I
probably
agree.
be a 4-parter.
That's why I
However,
think the CD is a better, enjoyable experience than the animation.
It's a much more enjoyable experience than narration, in my opinion, because Anarchy Will's narration can fill those gaps of empty dialogue.
Oh yeah,
and
absolutely.
make it seem like that the story is having a lot more happening in it rather than what is actually happening in it. Like, this could have been 4 parts, in my opinion. It's still good, but it still could have been maybe 4 parts, I would have said.
I think with the animation, they probably could have made like a movie version of it.
Mm.
I still think it's kind of stupid that they released like an entirely separate release for color. I don't think it's as good in color. It's better in black and white, I think. With a lot of 60s stories, I don't think there's a lot that shouldn't be colorized.
Yeah, like, how the fuck would the Web of Fear work?
I was literally just thinking that. Like,
yeah, like, how would a Web of Fear work in color? Like, something like the Enemy of the World, probably. Celestial Toymaker, probably.
Maybe the Aztecs.
Aztecs, probably. Web of Fear, no, definitely not.
I would like to see maybe the Abominable Snowman in color.
Yeah,
but
like,
just because of the scenery and just the way, like, I mean, it's one of my favorite stories of all time, and that's one I would like to see in color.
Maybe the War Games probably.
Oh, that would be quite interesting. Either. If somebody could pay like £1 million for Babel Color to colorize every single one, that would be interesting.
I would have to start collecting 60s DVDs all over again. Jesus,
that'd be quite a fun experience.
Yeah, I don't think the War Games work in color because I think the black and white adds in a way to the grittiness of the war and whatnot.
I just think the color version, like Steelbook, I think that was a stupid idea and just another way for the BBC to grab more money out of people's wallets.
Yeah, whereas I do overall think that Power of the Dalek is a good story, I do find it overrated, as I do find it to be padded somewhat, leaving me to give this story only an 8 out of 10, I would have said. And I'd personally prefer other Troughton stories like Enemy of the World, Fury from the Deep.
There are better Troughton stories out there. I mean, it's a very, very good story.
Agreed.
But it's not as good as people make it out to be.
Exactly. Yeah, I definitely not. I mean,
it's not
overrated.
It's not terrible, like, by any means.
Definitely, yeah, definitely not.
It's just a little bit overrated, I think.
Yeah.
But because there are a lot of stories like that that are, I mean, they're brilliant, but they are a little bit overrated. For example, like from the top of my head, like the Talons of Wing Chang, I think is brilliant, but it is a little bit overrated.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's a bit racist, the Talons of Wang Chang, isn't it?
I mean, I think we could do a completely different live stream on the racism of that story.
Isn't there like a line in it that's like more Wongs, Mr. Jago, or something like that?
Probably. It wouldn't surprise me. But I think I'll probably give Power probably the same rating, maybe like a 7. 8. Oh, was it an 8? Yeah.
I give it an 8 personally. It's great, but
yeah, I think an 8 is a good rating for that brilliant story.
Like
I said, it's not as good as people make it out to be, but it's still a really enjoyable listen. I think it's still pretty damn good.
Yeah, agreed. Like, I have been contemplating doing a top 25 60 stories multimedia, which I hinted at quite heavily in my 60s collection video back in November. And I'm not 100% sure where this would place. Like, around the 20 to 15 mark, I would have said. Like, there are definitely other Troughton stories that I would have said I prefer.
Oh yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. I mean,
around the
20
mark.
I don't think it's in my top 10 stories of all time, but I'd probably top 20. I'd say as well.
it's fantastic, and
Yeah, probably 8 out of 10. I think is a good rating for that.
definitely really good. Definitely some really good moments to it, like I Am Your Servants, the Dalek production line, the battle in episode 6 is pretty fantastic. It's
There's really
just
good stuff in it.
really good. Like, it's hard to deny how good of a story Power of the Daleks is, even if you find it a little
Absolutely.
overrated, in my opinion.
Yeah, and like just because it's overrated doesn't mean like you can't enjoy it. But I think that's pretty much all we have to say on Power.
Yeah, like, I don't really know what else to say there is to it. It's a classic for a reason, and I think it's just hard to deny that. Patrick Troughton gives an amazing performance. The Daleks are really good, really sly, really cunning.
The Daleks probably are at their best in this story, or it's one of their best outings.
Yeah, I would still say I prefer the Daleks and the Daleks Master
Oh
Plan
yeah, of
because of
course.
how ruthless they are. Like, they burn down a fucking jungle to try and lure out the Doctor and companions. Like, how ruthless is that?
But I just really like how cunning and discreet and sly the Daleks are in the
They are.
story.
Like, they don't really seem to be doing anything for the first few episodes, and bang, they're doing something.
I know, like, whoop, nearly fell off the chair. But yeah, it is just a fantastic story. I mean,
it is. It's so good.
Not really much more you can say on it, to be honest.
No,
other than it's bloody great.
Yeah, it's a classic for a reason, and it's not deny how good it is, really.
So, shall we talk about the story which means so much to me, and it's my joint favourite story of all time, and it is Evil of the Daleks. The reason why I say joint favourite is because Inferno is one of my favourites, well, my favourite story as well, so I can't really decide which one I prefer. But I've seen a lot of people say Evil is overrated and Power is a lot better.
I'm in that bandwagon personally.
Oh really? Okay. I just think I've listened to this story. I've experienced this story the most out of my entire collection because I can just listen to this fucking thing in one go and not get bored.
I think I remember in a very, very old video, you said you managed to listen to this thing 4 times whilst you're on holiday in France or something.
Yeah, that is literally what happened because we were there for about a week, and because we weren't doing much, literally just chilling by the pool, I listened to this fucking thing about 4 times.
You just floating in the pool on a big rubber thing, just listening to Evil of the Daleks. In your speedo, that.
I just love everything about the story. I can't see. Obviously, I suppose you could argue that it does suffer from a bit of pace, like padding.
That's where I sort of fallen under.
Yeah, which is fine. I'm not gonna slate anybody because they think that. I'm not afraid to admit there are problems with my favorite story. But I just think it's a brilliant looking production. Episode 2 is gorgeous.
Yeah.
I could go on all day about how much I fucking love this story.
Yeah.
It is. It's been my favorite story for years. when I got it. Yeah. So since 2000. When did I get it? I can't remember. But basically, it's been my favorite fucking story for literally as long as I can remember, and I just love. Like the last episode is one of my favorites of all time.
Yeah.
Just the Emperor Dalek, and the fact that it even made a return in Parting of the Ways is like amazing.
Yeah.
It really is.
Like, what I admire so much, particularly about 6 and 7 of this story, not only are they some of the best episodes of all time, but if you put it in the context of season 4, it's even better and more impactful because you had Moonbase link into Macro Terror. Probably the story before Moonbase links into Macro Terror as well. But in Macro Terror, links into Faceless Ones, and then Faceless Ones links into this. So
I mean, do you know the season 4 collection of the Lost TV episodes box set?
Yeah.
That box set alone has some of my favorite stories of all time, like the Abominable Snowman, obviously Evil of the Daleks, the Faceless Ones.
Like
it's just a brilliant box set, really is.
Season 4 just linked so well, like from the 10th planet through Power of the Daleks up until this. I think every story had like a linking cliffhanger to it, or linking ending into the next story. Like Moonbase, you had the big macro claw. Faceless Ones, you links into this with the TARDIS being stolen, and with
isn't that one considered to be? Is it the monster season, that one, or am I thinking of a different season?
I'm not sure.
There was a season where like it was called the monster season, but I might be wrong.
I don't know which that would be, to be honest.
But I mean, anyway, like season 4 is bloody amazing, and
and with
this story, because it introduces my favorite companion, Victoria Waterfield. And of course, Deborah Watling died. Was it last year or the year before? I can't remember.
2017, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and because she's one of my favorites. Because so much to the point that I actually sent Deborah Watling fan mail, and I've got quite a few autographs from her, but she's sadly passed away. And because I love the story, I actually, when I bought this CD from eBay, the seller actually didn't list the fact that the booklet inside was signed, which I thought was pretty fucking amazing. And I might be going to Cardiff Comic Con in March, where Fraser Hines is going, and I might get him to sign this because Deborah Watling has signed it, and one of the actors who played a Dalek, I think.
Yeah, Roy Skeleton.
Yeah, that's
Roy Skeleton.
I think it is. Yeah.
But he would have done the voices then, Roy Skeleton.
Yeah, and even though I'm not a big fan of his Dalek voices, I think he's still pretty good. But like, honestly, there are so many good, memorable moments throughout the story, and I just love the Victorian setting. Like the studio work, I think is brilliant, because obviously the BBC do, prehistorical stuff, like historical stuff, really well.
Definitely. Like
so much work, and like the acting in the story is fantastic.
It is. I think the story started off amazing. I think it goes episodes 1 and 2. Really,
it starts literally after the Faceless Ones finishes.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
I think
two of my favorite stories, back to back, just amazing.
I think episodes 1 and 2 were absolutely amazing. 3, 4, and 5 really good, but slightly draggy. 6 and 7, 2 of the best episodes ever, in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely! It's like I would die, to see those stories. I really would. Like, if that makes any sense.
Like episode 7, even like that would just be a dream to come true. To see that.
Yeah, I think David Whittaker is one of my favorite writers.
Oh yeah, and then he wrote
of all time,
Enemy of the World next season, which is one of my favorite Doctor Who stories of all time. If you haven't seen my review yet, which I did.
I think it probably. I think I did watch it. I did watch it actually, and he's such a good writer, and he really captures the essence of what Doctor Who is meant to be. And honestly, Evil of the Daleks, in my opinion, the definitive Dalek story.
Let's not forget that David Whittaker actually pioneered Doctor Who books.
He did. He's the start of it all.
Yeah, he started this. He started this huge fucking monster of a collection, pretty much.
He's the genesis of Doctor Who books, really.
He is, yeah.
He probably inspired Terrance Dicks to go out and write all Target books, because obviously Terrance Dicks is such a huge contributor to Doctor Who. But honestly, like I said, I could probably do a whole entire live stream, 2-hour live stream talking about Evil of the Daleks, because I mean,
Yeah.
it's fucking amazing.
Yeah, it really is a good story. I personally settle at a 7 out of 10, but I
Okay.
still find so much good things about it. It's just the middle 3 episodes drag a bit for me, but it's still a really, really good story.
Oh,
Without
absolutely.
question.
I'd go far as to say I'd give it a 10 out of 10, which I don't usually do for a lot of Doctor Who stories.
Mm.
But I think for me, Inferno and Evil of the Daleks, in my opinion, are 10 out of 10 episodes or stories.
Yeah, they are. Well, yeah, Evil's such a good story.
Yeah, obviously, like, you can have your own rating and stuff, but honestly, I could ramble on all day about how much I love those two stories, because
Evil is
so
really
good. So good.
And so is Inferno. Inferno is just textbook apocalyptic Doctor Who.
I mean, season 7 is textbook apocalyptic for Doctor Who, really. Think about it.
Yeah, like with the apocalypse coming from the past and the Silurians in a way, and then from Mars and Ambassadors, center of the Earth and Inferno, and your fucking supermarkets and Spearhead from space.
I know, it's just a bloody good season, but obviously it's my favourite Doctor. And what's your favourite season of all? Is it season 1, is it? Season 2 or?
I would still say season 3, but just because it's such no, season 7 rather. Sorry, just because it's such a solid run. So it's
so
oh no,
the Third Doctor era is probably the most consistent era, and I'd say maybe the First Doctor as well.
Yeah, I would say Unearthly Child 2, the Dalek is the Dalek Invasion of Earth is just solid in my opinion. Like not a bad story. Like a couple 6 out of 10s and a few 7s, but not a bad story.
Not a single dud within that season. I mean,
yeah. I mean that's the entire first production block of Doctor Who. Unearthly Child all the way up to the Dalek Invasion of Earth.
Oh yeah, I mean, whilst I would potentially disagree with that, I mean, like there are some really good stories and some iconic Doctor Who moments within it. It's just brilliant. And 60s Doctor Who in general is like, I don't see how anybody could dislike it.
Yeah, it is just really good. 60s Doctor Who is just amazing, as I've said time and time again on my channel.
It's like, I mean, it features 2 of my favourite Doctors of all time.
Features my 2 favourite.
Yeah, your two favourite ever.
And it has potentially my favourite story of all time, Fury from the Deep. Just
that's one of that's in my top 10.
We need to talk about that. We need to talk about that together in another stream, because Fury.
Well, I guess we could probably do just an entire review.
Yeah.
On that sort of thing, that's definitely something to consider.
Yeah.
So shall we do our own little ranking of Dalek stories? So should we start with the first story and go to the top and just rank as we go along? So I think we need to. I mean, unless you've got a bit of paper or something just to write them down.
No,
as we go along. Oh, actually, I've got my phone, so I could write it on the notes.
Or if you just want to, I was just going to pull them up in order of least favourite to favourite.
Okay. Well, I don't know if ours is going to be different. I've got a feeling it might be sort of pretty much the same. But who knows? Okay, so should we start off with Daleks? I think that's probably going to be. Actually, no. Let's just start from the bottom, because I think at number 6, I think it's probably going to be the Dalek invasion of. Actually, no, the Chase. I think is going to be at the bottom.
You don't like the Chase, do you? You sort of find it guilty pleasure.
Yeah, it's a guilty pleasure of mine, and that's not to say it's good, because it really isn't.
Yeah,
Okay, so yeah, the Chase is at the bottom of the pile. And then we'd say the Dalek invasion of Earth.
Yeah, I would say Dalek invasion of Earth as well.
And next, I'd say what's the next one? What's the next Hartnell? Is it?
Well, the next Hartnell is the Dalek's master plan, but my
yeah,
third favorite Dalek story from the 60s is the first one.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. I'll probably agree with that actually. Daleks, I forgot about that. And I think after that, after that is
when we're going to disagree on, because my next one's evil.
Well, my one is power, actually.
Oh, right. Well, my next one is evil, so...
Okay, that's fair enough. So I'll put power down. And then after that is the Dalek's master plan.
I've got power next.
Okay. So yeah, slightly different. I mean, not much different.
Not much different, really. No. And then process of elimination. Yours is evil. Mine is master plan.
So there we go. That's our ranking. So number 6 for me is the chase. Number 6 is the chase. Number 5 is the Dalek invasion of Earth. Number 4 is the Daleks. Number 3 is power. Number 2 is the Daleks master plan. And number 1 is the evil of the Daleks for me.
Number 6, the chase. 5th, Dalek invasion. 3rd, the Daleks. 4th, third place is evil, then it's power, and then number 1's master plan, the almighty master plan.
So yeah, I mean, I guess the lists are fairly similar, just some are swapped around. But yeah, I think that pretty much concludes this overview and ranking of the Daleks.
Dalek stories.
Every Dalek story in the 60s. So there we go.
Any final thoughts, or?
I don't think so. Not that we've already covered. I mean, I think we've pretty much talked about all there is, to discuss when it comes to the Dalek stories. I mean, there are a couple of crap ones, but there are some bloody amazing ones.
I mean, there's always going to be bad Doctor Who stories and bad Dalek stories as well.
Of course, it's going to be hard to have a perfect one,
Yeah, definitely.
But, like I said, every story has its problems. Evil of the Daleks has problems, and Inferno has problems, and the Daleks master plan has problems. But we're not afraid to admit that. So
no,
I think that pretty much concludes the video, really.
Yeah, I would say so too. What are your favourite 60s Dalek stories? Let us know in the comments.
And please do tell us your ranking of the 1960s Dalek stories as well. We may do a Cyberman stories at some point.
Yeah, that would be good.
But I do need to listen to the Wheel in Space, because that's the only one I haven't experienced.
Yeah, you're saving the worst for last, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's that.
So like, favorite, comment, subscribe. I hope you guys enjoyed this live stream. Pitch Go Black, dematerializing.